Hello. Hello. Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work here. Welcome. I know, that was funny, kind of. Hi. Welcome to the Green Space. Are any of you here for the first time ever? Wow, how did you hear about the show? Okay, well, that's a great answer. Usually people just kind of quietly mumble Facebook. But that's great. Well, thanks for coming. Just so you know where you are in the midst of listener-supported New York Public Radio here. Are any of you WNYC members or WQXR members? Yay! Thank you for supporting fact-based reality independent journalism. It's so important. We do that here no matter what. So thank you to you, and also the Jerome L. Green Foundation. They support everything we do here. Now, I don't want to sound really needy, and I don't need you all becoming members, but I would like you to come back to the Green Space, so I hope you will consider that. What we do here is have conversations, we play music, we make art, we do a lot of different things, and we turn it into radio and podcasts that we beam out into the world, hoping to change it just 2 eardrums at a time. And we have a lot of great classical music from WQXR. We do provocative journalism on WNYC. And then here, sometimes we just throw parties and we have like a wild and woolly variety show and turn on that disco ball. So it's a real mix. I hope you'll come back and sign up for our newsletter if you want to be the first to find out about all of these happenings. So right now, before we do anything else, just silence your cell phones or anything else you have that might make noise. You can leave them on if you have life-threatening emergencies, but I encourage you to just watch the show because it's going to be great. The whole thing's being recorded and we're streaming it on Facebook right now. So if you do want to go back and check it out later, that'll be available to you. And I just want to say I'm really thrilled to have the Apollo as a producing partner. They've entertained and informed and delighted New Yorkers and really like the whole world since 1930. So it's really wonderful to work with them. They work with WNYC to host our annual MLK event. And I think there are flyers in the lobby if you want to find out more about that. It's free. It's great. We broadcast it on our air. And I hope we're going to do some more events here. So thank you to Laura Greer and the whole Apollo team for making this show happen. Yay. Yeah. So are you ready for this show I keep talking about? All right, so let's do that. I'm going to turn this over to an extraordinary woman. She's an artist in her own right. She's a Q2 music host. She's the host of her own podcast, Helga, which you can find on iTunes and anywhere else where you get podcasts. I don't know about those places. I only know the iPhone, but there are places where you can find it. And Helga's show is interviews. It's great. She interviews everybody from the former director of the New York Philharmonic to Pulitzer Prize winners, indie music stars, also Solange. Really, she did. It's amazing. It's such a great show. So please give it up for Helga Davis and the panel.
Hello, 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 hello. My shoes, yes. I'm going to start to get a little bit of a complex because this is the second or third time that I've hosted a live event, and people have only said, "What shoes are you wearing?" I'm going to start to feel badly, really. I'm joking. I'm going to get the t-shirt, though, that says, "Per diem is for shoes." Because that's true in my life. Okay, here we are. Hello and good evening to everyone. I am so, so glad that you are here for this evening's conversation, which in part explores the ever-expanding relevance of contemporary opera. Oh. Yeah, but it's true. We need to keep talking about it, and we need to keep feeling all the ways in which this genre is expanding. We've seen, and some of you have been irritated by contemporary stagings of classic operas. Yes or no? See? As well as many of those classic works which by composers such as Mozart and Puccini and Wagner's and others that drive the seasons of opera houses the world over. But in the wake of Philip Glass and Robert Wilson's seminal opera Einstein on the Beach, there are also a slew of works being written by new, young composers like David T. Little, Paolo Prestini, Nico Muhly, and Missy Mazzoli, to name a few. They continue to answer opera's original call, which is to tell the stories of the common people. And they tackle subjects like human trafficking and immigration and some of the dangers and scandals of online dating. And as a natural outgrowth of this fertility, we also have works which explore culture's complexities as seen through the African American gaze. And this evening, we'll speak with two such composers, Daniel Bernard Roumain and Toshi Reagon, who are here with us this evening. And we'll also, their works, We Shall Not Be Moved and The Parable of the Sower, will soon be coming to stages all around the world. We'll also speak with Kamilah Forbes from the Apollo Theater, who is one of the commissioning partners of We Shall Not Be Moved. Let's just take all of that in, because it's a lot. And what's so great about this evening for me too is that we're all here together to listen, to talk about it, and to see where we're going and how else we can start to open up these conversations. So let us begin with the music. I'm going to sit down for a moment. And Daniel, I actually want to start with you. We're going to hear something from We Shall Not Be Moved first. And set us up. Let us know where we are in the piece and what we're going to hear.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm just so honored to be on this stage with three remarkable humans, right? I mean, three remarkable humans. I'm serious. And Toshi and Helga and Kamilah, who are my friends and have been mentors. I am awestruck. And, it's important for everyone here and everyone listening and everyone watching that my work has been very much influenced by the work of my friends here on the stage and my friends who are coming onto the stage. We Shall Not Be Moved is a commission from Opera Philadelphia, and like any commission, a commission is an invitation, but it's not a choice. And in the world of opera, thank you so much for helping us very quickly understand the trajectory of it all. As a composer, you are given the awesome responsibility to choose your creative team, and your team then chooses the story. So as we think about Black creativity and the role and maybe even the responsibility of artists of color, the choices become severe. And in opera, you can talk about unicorns and rings and little fairies in the in the wind and all these magical things or what have you, or you can talk about the hard, relevant issues of the day. And Mark Bamuti Joseph, the librettist for the work, who is a wonderful director and wonderful writer and spoken word artist and dancer, by the way, in his own right, chose to take an incident that happened in Philadelphia in 1985 involving the MOVE organization, a diverse collection of people who were living a alternate lifestyle, who were making their own choices on their city block in Philadelphia. He took that moment in time, which involved a confrontation between them and law enforcement, as the occasion by which to create an original story that involved 5 runaway children that decided to live in an abandoned house in Philadelphia because they were done learning from their public school system. I'm a father, and I can speak directly to that. Education is a complex word. These 5 runaway children decided to learn from the ghost of 5 runaway children who had died before them, the OGs, original ghost. That's Mark. You're always turning it. So what we're going to hear is just a brief excerpt from the work, sung and performed by members of the cast and one member of the actual pit, the musician. Mila Henry on piano, who's wonderful. She's done so much with so many different artists in new music. Adam Richardson, who's our bass baritone, who in the opera his role is the character is named John Mack. All of the ghosts have specific names that reference specific ideologies, if you will. And the opera that I wrote and that Mark and I wrote together, we have a spoken word artist. And she's really the center of it all. And tonight, and it's brilliant what she says. But she's also going to sing, not to confuse you. And that'll be Lauren Whitehead, who in the opera, her character's name is Un/Sung, which I think says a lot. Not just about the notion that she's a spoken word artist, but I always see this right here. The stage is for me the last bastion of democracy, where all voices can and should be heard. So to have a principal character in an opera that is not an opera singer, and the name is Unsung, and it is a woman of color. I can't speak to that, but she does brilliantly. And I just want to say to the audience, and I'll wrap it up. Sorry, I talk a lot when I get nervous. I'm nervous, and I never get nervous. Toshi's there, and I'm so nervous. Helga's there, I'm so nervous. You don't make me nervous. They make me nervous, but I love you. I just want to say, as a black man, it's so easy for us to get caught up in our own crises, but it is much different when you're talking about how these things unfold for black women and how these things unfold for our children. And as a composer, I'm so fortunate to be able to share with you, in Adam, in Lauren, and in Mila, people who care, people who come together, and people who can really express those things that I just can never tell you. So this begins with the word, and Lauren talking about not just herself, but where we are. And it is what it is.
Green space, let's give a warm, warm welcome to Lauren Whitehead, Adam Richardson, and Mila Henry.
This is my body, colored, girl. I'm exposed to touch or trash. I'm from North Philadelphia, of the wrong class, of the wrong caste. America, what's so wrong you got laws against this body? I made a family of some brothers who self-identify as black. John Henry, John Little, John Blue, John Mack. Black. Not like skin, black, like not supposed to win, like the other side of spacious skies and amber waves. We all black, like antimatter. We family, tied by pain. My brothers and I, somebody save us from the sins of our youth. Ghosts teach us how to move next. Ghosts teach us our next move. God bless my brothers and somebody save us from the sins of our youth. Ghosts teach us how to move next. Ghosts teach us our next move.
My family, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I've been fixed and you've been swept up in my fate. Family, we make our own fate. Little, put the gun down and pray with me now. Little, lay down your burden. Little, lay it down. I'm the one with the gun. I don't need permission. This is what's safe. This is what's best. I'm the one with the gun. I don't need permission. This is what's safe. This is what's best.
God bless my brothers and I. Somebody save us from the sins of our youth.
Family, we make our own
teach us how to move.
Little, put the gun down and pray with me now. Little, lay down
teach
your
us our
burden.
next move.
Little, lay it down.
Ghost teach us how to move next. Ghost teach us our next move.
Oh, she say there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Oh, she say it's later than you think. It's later than you think. Oh, she say I seen the future, baby, and it is murder. Oh, she say love your body, baby. Love is in 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 your body, baby. Oh, gee, say love yourself, baby. Oh, gee, say self-love leads to sex love. Oh, gee, say time did not reconcile me to my chains. It made me familiar with that. Say black and hear yes. Say black and hear enough. Say love is the only word sweeter than black. 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 Love is the only word sweeter than black.
Say, call life and I will come. Say the slave song beckons the morning. Come. A diseased fruition of universal law, responding to calls gasped as Philly kids breathe their last. As if touched by an angel, the air quivers. Slave song delivered as shiver up the spine. Supine, the sky bends in agony, bearing the brunt of the slave song's majesty. Magically unnamed ancestors speak through me. The muse reaching out to the maroon midnight. The slave song crying, why? The blight of forsaken will to live encased in Till's corpse. A slave's missive christened in the blood of Shakur. Hear me, the bass in mother's roar as she rages. Brown boys in cages, mental stages stunted in prison. The slave song is visibly vibrant as aurora borealis, but only if you listen.
touched by an angel, the air quivers, freedom song delivered as wind, remembering that I am she, becoming me again, carrying a cancer through cloud and time, bathing it in sea and meeting me again in flight as I rise. Supine the sky, pens in agony. Supine the sky, pens in agony. An agony so deep the sky bends, 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 the sky bends.
Thank you so much to Lauren Whitehead and Adam Richardson, as well as Mila Henry. You know what? Y'all ran off too fast. Come back here a second.
Agreed. Oh, yeah. Come on.
So really, I just want to ask you what it's been like for you to do this piece. I'm sure that you sing lots of kinds of music and that you work in other genres. Tell us what this piece has meant to you specifically.
Oh, goodness.
Daniel, sit down.
Sorry.
He gets excited. For me, this piece has meant a lot. I mean, I guess it's a preference. I was actually singing some of my other colleagues' parts who weren't here, unfortunately, so I was doing a little, I guess, triple duty today. But this piece has really meant a lot to me. I mean, first and foremost, to have an opera composed, written, directed by 2 Haitian Americans and an African American is a dream. It's a dream for me. I was very fortunate to see opera at, I guess, an early age. I was 15 when I saw my first opera, but I didn't see anyone that looked like me on that stage. And, you know, still to this day, you know, I've luckily been able to perform all over the country and all over the world. And to do a show that is not Porgy and Bess or not to do Showboat is, for me, it's like a vacation. It's a holiday. Not to put those shows down or anything, but the perspective of those shows are still seen, was written through the eyes of Caucasians. And this show is written through the perspective of people that look like me and understand my voice and understand the trials and tribulations that we as artists go through. And for me, that has just been probably one of the highlights of my career.
Lauren, what about for you?
It's been scary as hell, if I can be totally honest.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an opera singer. I'm a bit of a hybrid artist myself. You know, I'm primarily a writer. I perform spoken word every once in a while. I sing a little bit. I twerk a little bit, you know what I mean? So I have a lot of skills, but they don't always come together. And I always think that a project is ideal for me if I get to be 2 out of 5 of myself in that show, for instance, right? That to me, that the ratio is good. If I get to sing and do spoken word, great. And nothing else. If I get to write and direct, wonderful. But this is one of the few shows where I've got to be myself in a number of different ways, including getting to be in the room and work as a dramaturg and getting to sort of create the part. I've been in the workshops for a long time, and I've really had a lot of input in terms of what it's like, who Unsung is as a character, and I feel like it's been a real gift to be in a hybrid opera as a hybrid artist, really not having to sacrifice any of myself in order to be in the room, including my radical Black girl self, including all the girls, you know, the people who I've needed and wanted to see are always in the room, and those reflections mean more to me than any other project I've ever done in my entire life.
And how about your ghost self?
For real.
Yeah, I'm asking for real.
I don't want to give away too much because I know you're all going to buy tickets to the Apollo. I can't imagine that you wouldn't. But Unsung has a really deep relationship to the ghosts.
To spirit,
and to spirits. And I have a deep relationship to ancestor as well. And I think the only reason that a show like this can happen is because of the ancestors who have done their work before us. So every time we walk onto the stage with our black ass creative team and our black ass cast and with the black ass audiences and with this black ass story, like it's the blackest thing I've done in a long time. And we are not without knowledge that the ancestors paved the way. So I feel like I'm constantly thinking about those ghosts that are with me, and I'm constantly trying to do them justice and honor everything that happened both in Philadelphia and also that continues to happen, which is why this story is so important right now.
Mila,
I didn't mean to be rambling and cussing.
How about you?
I wanted to quickly add that the director is Bill T. Jones, the dancer choreographer, and he has served as also a dramaturg for the show and choreography, of course, and direction, of course, along with Mark Bamucci Joseph as our librettist.
Well, it's an honor to be a part of the show, and I have to say from the first time that I played it, it was so intuitive to me, and I felt the grooves right away. I could tell where they were going, and I love playing it. And I love our cast. I love how diverse we all are. I love all the backgrounds and styles we're bringing to the table, from opera to spoken word to R&B. And it's truly one of my favorite shows that I've been a part of.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Mila Henry, Lauren Whitehead, and Adam Richardson. So I want to just open this up a little bit and ask the two of you, Toshi, and you, Daniel, why opera?
I'll just say real quickly, because I really want to hear from Toshi and Kamilah. I as a Black Haitian American composer, why opera? I would say why not, and I would also say because I feel that we have stories that we tell best, and that we should be telling.
Toshi, hi.
Hi, how you doing? Hi. Hey. Oh, hey. I grew up being a kid in the DC Black Repertory Company. And this is a theater in Washington that was created by Ben Hooks and his brother. And my mother was hired as the musical director, and everybody was young. Everybody was like, my mom was.
So before we keep going, just for the 2 or 3 people who don't know, tell everyone who your mom is.
My mom's Bernice Johnson Reagan, and she's an awesome mom. And so she brought her kids with her everywhere, and I ran around the theater all day long and watched everything. I love being in theaters and watching people create. Because of that, I can sit in rehearsals for hours. It really pleases me. It doesn't have to be my work. When my mother made 2, what I know now, operas, she never did spoken dialogue in anything. And if there was any text that needed to come out of a song, it was always in pitch. And it was always in rhythm. And so she never, we don't actually know how to do the other thing. And so when I've done the other thing, it's been somebody else's project. You know, I did music for one of Kamilah's pieces, which was thrilling for me and really wonderful. But it's our choice to sing our stories. And my mother said that when people ask about music from the Civil Rights Movement and they feel like, oh, it's missing, she's like, it's not missing. Everybody had to learn something that she and her people did in that part of the country. They already had the practice of singing. So he sang children's games, sang prayers, sang everything, sang in church, sang all the time. So of course, if you're gonna have a revolution, we're gonna sing the revolution. And so that's why.
And Kamilah, let's get you in on this conversation. It's been how long that the Apollo has been part of this collaboration? And how does the Apollo, so many people think of amateur night, right? Sure. When they think of the Apollo, sure. And that's certainly a very significant and important part of the Apollo's history. And now there's this. So
Yes. Well, a little bit. So I'll talk a little bit about the Apollo, right? So the Apollo has always been a place of innovation. Has always been a place of generation and creation and a home for artists. So the Apollo has been involved in particularly this, and We Shall Not Be Moved, since the inception as one of the co-commissioners, co-producers, and obviously presenter next week. And I feel as though it's our responsibility as a institution, performing arts institution, but more importantly, a Black performing arts institution, to contribute to the canon and develop new work, right, that will be written about, that will be talked about years from now, that address the situation and the world that we're living in today. And both of these pieces do just that. You know, and when I think about the Apollo and opera, I know people are, huh? But you know, opera has always been a part of the Black tradition. Yeah. Any Black church you go to, right? The classical voice has always been there. But what's interesting about these two works is that it's not confined by the form, but quite frankly, I feel like it's defining and more importantly, redefining the form. And because, you know, both of these artists who are sitting on the stage with us are brilliant. and have been led by the story and the urgency of the story and allowed that to define what aesthetics to use at what point, right? Versus I want to set up an opera and therefore allowing the form to define, which I think is a brilliant way to approach work.
Well, the other thing about the form is that it really does it employs all of the humanities,
That's
right?
right.
So
That's right.
There's dance, there's music, there's design, there's architecture. So it's not an accident for me that you would be attracted to this, but I think as we speak about broadening a conversation about what opera is, that it has become very interesting to me to find more African American people who are jumping into that water and saying, I'm going to tell this story in this way. So it's not a musical theater piece.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And that feels like an important statement to make.
You know, and both of these stories that, you know, they've chosen to explore and write and delve into are dealing with epic magnitude proportions, right? These are epic, quite frankly, tragedies, if you will, right? And dealing with disenfranchisement, et cetera. And quite frankly, you needing a form that is also larger than life. To illuminate, to expand the conversation, which is why because I'm fascinated by, wow, what is happening now within, Black creativity, right? That we are using this particular form to explore. And, we're living in some dire straits. We're living in times that need a larger than life form to express these epic tragedies, right?
This is a time that I miss the poet Sekou Sundiata very much. Sekou would say to me all the time, Helga, we have to start to be in charge of our mythology. We must write our myths.
That's
we
right.
must write ourselves into the future in ways in which we don't already see ourselves, in which our political and cultural systems don't see us. We must begin to write those stories. So that's actually a great segue for you, Toshi, to just talk to us about the parable of the sower. Why this story, how this story, and where you are in that process.
Thank you. Octavia E. Butler's Parable of the Sower. Parable of the Sower is a novel she wrote around 1993, and it imagines it actually writes the trajectory of humanity going into the year 2024. So when I first read it, I didn't want to read it, so I didn't. And my mom, Toni Morrison, asked my mom to teach a semester at Princeton, and my mom couldn't do the whole thing, and she said, well, if Toshi will split it with me, I'll do it. And but you had to have a text, and my mom chose Parable of the Sower. And I was like, okay, now I have to read it. And I read it, and it was life-changing and also really, really scary. after we finished that semester, we realized we could sing the book. So we started our journey, and we found a little bit of a home with the late great Gerard Mortier, who was to be the artistic director at New York City Opera. And we had like a wonderful workshop, which Helga was in for 3 weeks. And we were like, oh my God, we're just like, you know, building something. And then New York City Opera, like, you know, did his thing and didn't exist anymore. So my mother and I, we just paid for it ourselves to keep writing it. And I kind of said to her, I promise I will get this done. And she didn't need me to promise, but I needed to promise. And I needed to promise Octavia Butler I would get her work from the page into another expression of it, which surprisingly had not been done. It was just crazy. She'd written all of these books, and everybody's like, we're going to do a movie. So through my long relationship with Joe's Pub and the Public Theater, we did a sing of kind of an arc of the music my mother and I had written in 2015. We got a great response. And I don't think we're responsible, but the convergence of people who have been vibrating with her work, all of a sudden, it just like exploded shortly after that, but we were first. We were first. And that really started the ball rolling, except for theater, especially as you say, like something of this magnitude. People really want like 3, 4 years, 5 to really develop it. And I was like, it has to debut the fall of 2017. And I said that and so nobody ran to produce it. So I've been doing it myself. And all of these people who are amazing and talented and wonderful have like joined the project to create this powerful team of people who are putting their hands on it. And I have to say that, like, I don't know if it's every Black person in theater, but I can't tell you, people show up at our workshops and they're not directing and they're not producing, but they know how to, and they put their hands on my back and they tell me to keep moving forward. And so we are debuting in November, and NYU Abu Dhabi is the world premiere. And then we are coming back here for the U.S. premiere at University of North Carolina. And these are the two brave institutions that have not seen a finished project, but have seen us along the way and said they want to be first to present it and that they want to travel with us. And I'm very, very moved by that. So, because it is really important to me to do it now. The Parable story, everybody talks about how hard and devastating, and it's, oh my gosh, a tragedy, and it's just everything. And this is true when she makes when she builds you the 2024 world. It is rough. People are like, right now, we are in Parable, and I just want to tell people that you're not. And that we're in this room and somebody's filming us, and like a bunch of us heard about it on Facebook, and we have these smartphones, and you call the Uber, somebody picks you up, and after this you're gonna go to dinner and you're gonna have drinks and you make money and you do this and you do that. You have to recognize that you are not in a state of devastation if you're not. Some people are. You just can feel what is creeping up from the bottom of your foot. And you have to ask yourself, with all the power that you have, what transformative thing can you do really fast? And part of it is really accepting your own predictions. She says that, you know, anyone can predict the future once you get past your fear. It's easy. And you have to stop having this conversation with yourself that's like, what I think isn't true. You have to be like, it is true. So from this position of strength, from this position of safety, from this position, what will you do to shape a different trajectory? It actually does not have to happen. And part of it is doing the boring, tedious things that hold the very thin lines of a society together. that you might have more of an emotional, I want to vote for someone who I love. I want to vote for somebody who I agree with. I want to vote for blah, blah, blah. Why there do you have this big emotional relationship that you don't have anywhere else? And that you open the door for tyrants to actually have power over your life. Just vote for somebody who isn't a tyrant. They don't have to be the best person, right? They could have done some wrong things, but it's like you went to one restaurant, you went to the other one, it's great, you know? The one that's great is closed and you need to eat it. You need to eat food. I mean, it's like that, you know? So I feel like the conversation has to happen. I mean, I'm being funny, but we all know I'm right. And the other thing is, the buildings are so important. I've been telling every arts presenter that you hold the new 21st century mass meetings. They hold big spaces. They're often beautiful spaces. They can hold thousands of people. Some of them are outdoors inside of beautiful amphitheaters. You can welcome everybody into your space and feed your community and let them take over your space and house what they need to discuss. And so Parable, when I do Parable everywhere I have gone into the community and welcomed them into the process to speak what they need to. But these buildings, the Apollo is a holy, sacred space. And so that's also very important to me, to get inside of these places. Helga and I were in the Paris Opera House, and we're the first Black company in the history of the Paris Opera House to go in there. And we just tore that place up. Like, every day the band played the loudest, like, funkiest rock music we could at the sound checks, right? We were like playing Prince, and we were just doing everything because we were the first ones. And people cried when we left.
We cried when we left.
We did.
Let's talk a little bit about your collaborators for your work.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, Bill T. Jones is the director, choreographer, and dramaturg. I was formerly his music director for the Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane. It was Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane Dance Company. It is now, to be more specific, the Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane Company. And that says a lot. Of course, they're housed at New York Live Arts, which used to be Dance Theater on 19th Street. And, well, I mean, to answer that question succinctly, I got here in 97. The first place I went was 63rd Street and First Avenue, because I was trying to become, I had an audition at Martha Graham Dance Company. And I was at University of Michigan. Peter Sparling, a former principal of Martha Graham, got me the audition. And I walked in, and there's Pearl Lang. The Pearl Lang was the woman who took over for Miss Graham when she could no longer, when she was forced out of her company. And long story short, she had me come in, I played, and she said, oh, so that sounds good. Okay, why don't you come play for a few dancers in the corner of the room? And I started playing. She said, okay, that sounds good. Just use one hand. So I used one hand. She said, just use four fingers. Just use one finger. I said, you know what, come back tomorrow and just sit and listen. And I did for a few weeks. But in my own research, I realized that Pearl Lang had actually worked with and helped Alvin Ailey and Arthur Mitchell both start their companies. And the thing about that is that I have learned so much. I'm a better musician for having worked with dancers and actors and singer-songwriters and scientists and biologists and my mother, you know, and my sons. And so when you say my collaborators, you know, I'm trying to be really artful and also very specific, but also very honest and truthful in what that means, because things get caught up in Bill T. Jones, which is fine. Mark Bamuthi Joseph is the librettist, but he's also a really dear friend of mine who's also Haitian American. And I think that for whatever reasons a few days ago, you know, I miss Pearl Lang. I was Google searching her name. There she is talking about Madonna in the old Graham building. It's gone now. But there was a video of Martha Graham and Helen Keller. And she's helping Helen Keller feel dancers and the instruments. And there's Pearl Lang, a young Pearl Lang in her 20s, who came here when she was 16 to New York City. Not easy to do, right? And, you know, to have shared, collaboration for me is such a deep and potent word, because I think that it, in its best sense, it's a conversation. In its worst, it may be a confrontation. And if you're working with Mr. Jones or Mr., you know, if you're working with anyone, there's if you're working, there's going to be conversation and confrontations, and you have to really be very clear about who you are and what you want to do. But as we think about these beautiful places, as Toshi was saying, you know, opera is expensive and it is an investment. And I think that Troubled Island by William Grant Still with a libretto by Jacques Roumain was also commissioned by New York City Opera. And in between, we've had operas by Anthony Davis, Terrence Blanchard, champion. And, you know, I think that as I think about what comes next in our work together, and as I think about my role and responsibilities in terms of who I'm inviting and who I want on the stage with me, or who I want to represent a work, or what stories I even want to be told, I have to think very seriously about even that word collaboration, because, you know, time is so short, it's so precious. These projects that we're talking about really do reflect the values and the investment of not only the producers, but the art houses that represent them and that house them, and that it does belong to us. We pay our taxes, we suffer for our communities and our cities, and our work and our stories should be at the Met. And it scares me to think that, okay, African-American director, Haitian-American librettist, Haitian-American composer, and we might be the first by any major opera house ever. That's not a boast. That makes me quite sad. I teach at Arizona State University proudly. There's a young man there named Joel Bentley Thompson. He just wrote a symphony piece called 7 Last Words of the Unarmed. He took the last words of Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, and he set it to orchestra and a chorus behind him. And Symphony Magazine said to me, name the most important pieces of the last 75 years. They asked a lot of composers, and they said what you would think they said. I said his name on purpose. Wow. And now his piece is going to be picked up by the Tallahassee Symphony. Tallahassee, y'all. That is not North Miami. I'm from South Florida. It's Tallahassee, you dig? So I think collaboration is an opportunity to, as my good Haitian mother would say, somebody puts a spotlight on you, put it on someone else.
What about for you, Toshi, and the folks you have around you working on Parable and the other things that you do?
Yeah, I just have a big tribe of artists that I'm involved with in New York. And we've had, some of us have had really long relationships, have been doing work together. One of the first artists I saw when I arrived in New York was Helga Davis and Marcel Davies Lashley and Carl Hancock Rux, and we all still work together. And we've all done pretty good in our careers. And when we were like looking for a grant for Parable, they asked the question, like, how is she going to work with those people? They're famous. And like, how is she going to keep them together because of how much Helga, Marcel, and Carl now work on such a large scale. But we all laugh about that because we just have kept working together and we're not going to stop. And our and this circle expands. You know, it's very wide. All of the people you see on the stage come from us, and this work would get done and with us, with nobody else cared. It would get done with us. We would sing, we would do it anywhere. That's right. And so while I talk about the buildings and, you know, the occupation of buildings for community, we will occupy the streets with this work. Okay. It is that important. We'll sing in our living rooms. We'll do it wherever we have to. And that is because that is the core of this work even happening. Right. And then it's directed by Eric Ting. It's produced by Mayen Wang. It is Shanta Thake at Joe's Pub put her hands on it. There's just a lot of people who have insisted on its space, and a lot of people who've, you know, have you ever like gotten to a door and wondered if anybody on the other side knew who you were? And so I've gotten to a lot of doors, and I'm wondering if anybody knows who I am, and not like, do you know Toshi? But do you know what it is I need to do, and are you gonna let me in? And there's countless people. So that right on timeness is happening. We're all vibrating on a similar level. I know it's hard, but I'm so happy and excited to see our people vibrating on this, like right now, new visionary. We are not going to sit here and wallow in the pits of depression because we are having a hard time. We are going to change this hard time.
That's right.
And so people and institutions are opening their doors, and people who have money are paying for what they want to happen. And we are actually building what the future is. And so that's my collaboration, is I can pick up the phone and call and somebody always answers.
What is it like or is there any challenge for you to talk to your board, your funders, your collaborators about making opera, making work that perhaps they don't necessarily associate with the institution?
Sure. Sure. That's a great question, actually. Because if I can be perfectly honest, it takes a sense of fearlessness, right? I think it takes a sense of fearlessness and faith. What I mean by faith in the institution. Because a lot of times when you're talking to board and you're talking to funders, they're looking for tactical results. And then, and I speak from an artistic standpoint, right? There's nothing tactical, at least from in the language that they're looking for, that I can provide, nor quite frankly want to provide. But what I can and have faith in is that in these two works and the faith in the artists that you provide space for, this is a space in which, in both of these pieces and both of these artists I can speak about, in which performance and prayer conflate, right? And when that happens, that's true magic and transformation of audiences, of culture, of communities around. That's something that's very difficult to explain to a board. That's something very difficult to put on a spreadsheet. But quite frankly, that is the power of what we do, and more importantly, the responsibility of cultural arts institutions, period. And it takes a bit of fearlessness and to express that and to make major decisions on that. And quite frankly, it's the kind of fearlessness that you need when working with new work. Yeah. Which is why so many arts institutions want to go with the safe. Let's go with the canon. Everybody knows Romeo and Juliet. We know Porgy and Bess. We know Raisin and Son. That works. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in that.
I know.
I'm sorry. It's not that I don't respect, but I know that we have a larger responsibility to my grandchildren, right? Because, yeah. So.
Daniel, did you want to say something?
I just wanted. I'm still thinking about your question, and it's so deep. I just wanted to say briefly. Last time
you say that every time.
I know. I'm going to say it real quick though, but it means so much to me because Helga, last time I saw you perform, it was at BAM and National Sawdust. Toshi, last time I saw you perform, it was with Toni Morrison, Sonia Sanchez, and Ta-Nehisi Coates, who you're working with now. And I don't want to forget about everyone who is in We Shall Not Be Moved, Lauren and Adam and Milo, who you saw tonight, but there are others like John Holliday and Daniel Shirley and too many names to mention. They're so important. And even now in this audience, I don't have students, they're contributors. We all contribute to a classroom of ideas. Are friends of mine, contributors from the New School. And to me, these are all really important, vibrant collaborations and collaborators that directly affect what I'm doing, that your performances, I want to stay a fan. I don't ever want to get too close or too comfortable with the people that I admire so deeply and who have had an effect on me. There's something about seeing someone on the stage and being so inspired, and you'll see it tonight. Actually, yes, you can see it and hear it. When Toshi, I call it my weapon of choice, my violin. That's how I co-opt the word, because we are in a time of war. The battlefields are, and the battle lines are drawn. But when I see Toshi pick up her weapon of choice in that guitar with Helga, and they are this army of one, which you'll see tonight, I mean, that is collaboration to me. That is what keeps me going. Yeah, that's the antidote to all the ills in the world.
Well.
Can I say something else about collaboration?
Absolutely.
Great. I just want to shout out, WNYC and also at the Apollo Laura Greer, who really fought and championed to have this conversation about Black creativity now and recognizing the importance, recognizing also the wave of what's happening, because there's a vibration that's happening kind of in our world right now when it comes to, I think, future aesthetics, Black aesthetics, but the need to, like you said, create our own mythologies today, the need for the codification of our neo-folklore today. And so I just want to thank WMIC, Lord Greer from the Apollo, to creating that space, because it's important, because the world is watching, right? So. Yeah.
With that, Toshi, come on.
Oh, it's my turn?
So we're going to hear a little bit from Toshi Reagon. Do you want to tell us what you're singing?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I you see, look how flexible I am. I have my little cards here with every moment accounted for. This is Toshi Reagon. Her new work is Octavia E. Butler's The Parable of the Sower. I'm going to give all of the details for both of the shows that are coming up after we hear Toshi perform and before we say good evening. Thank you all again so much for coming out and for holding this space with us to have this conversation. I think that you know, you all are the fifth Beatle. We take for granted sometimes, you know, you think, oh, they come up there and they go up there and they do that thing and we sit here. And it is not that at all. Part of what happens here has also everything to do with what happens with you from where you sit. It's why we get so irritated when your phones go off, when you think that no one can see you checking your messages, because it really does disrupt the flow of the conversation that we are having with you. So thank you. Thank you for turning off all of your devices. Thank you for not being that person. And I think I can stop talking now. Toshi is ready.
Thank you. Maybe the biggest collaborators are the audience that actually risk coming into these rooms to see work they don't know what it is. These are some pieces from Parable of the Sower.
Sunlight hides so much overwhelming light. Sunlight, sunlight, still shining over and over and over and over again. Be me, but I won't submit. Over and over and over and over again, yeah. Beat me, but I won't submit. Run away. It's all right. Run away. It's all right. It's all right if you run away from the pain.
This next song, that one got y'all. My mother talks about when you are told that you're owned, and when you run away, it makes you a criminal. So she says, run away anyway. And then all your ancestors, black ancestors, wrote a song about it called Steal Away. So that's what that's about. Run away, free yourself. This song, I really enjoyed writing this song because it's how I feel when everybody don't act right and the world just loses its moral focus into, yeah.
I hate these people in their criminal ways, disgusting, filthy, living slowly inside, outside. I know I hate these people crawling, far too many, not nothing to do. Crazy, filthy, life-consuming scavengers, feeding off the end of days. You think you know what you did, you think you wouldn't, but you did. You think you can't, but you will. You will, you will. Helga's singing. Carry a gun all day, sleep with a gun at night, and shoot at strangers behind you, cause you thought they were a pack of dogs or worse. What can she be behind you, vacant eyes? Someone who just lost hope, or someone full of dope to burn you down. You think you won, but you did. You think you can't, but you did. You think you can't, but you will. You will, you will, you will. Each round goes lower, lower. You live like something crawling out each sunrise, like a too big load upon your back. And one day you know you'll be attacked. Yeah, one day you know you'll be attacked. Yeah, you think you won't, but you did. You think you wouldn't, but you did. You think you can't, but you will. You will, you will, you will. Itchy, smelly, love nobody, no mercy for children, no mercy for elders, no mercy for mothers, no mercy for fathers, disposable. You can't fight in wars, work as slaves, live in hell all your living days. Oh, I hate these people crawling, far too many, not nothing to do. Crazy, filthy, life-consuming scavengers feeding off the end of days of a dying world, 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 a dying world.
You somewhere, for sure.
When I looked in the mirror, someone was falling down. When I looked in the mirror, someone was falling down. When I looked in the mirror, someone was falling down. And I slipped from view and my head hit the ground. Well, I fell on the dark earth, but I was out of touch, yeah. Well, I fell on the dark earth, but I was out of touch. Said I fell on the dark earth, but I was out of touch. Tried to look towards the heavens, but it was a bit too much. Can't see up above me, but I still know my name, yeah, yeah. Can't see up above me, but I still know my name. Can't see up above me, but I still know my name. I can hear through the distance, and I still feel the same. And I know it will be right on time. Well, I know if you call me, I will be right on time. Say, I know if you call me, I will be right on time. Don't know where I'm going, but I get there right on time.
Thank you. You know, a little hosting, a little singing, it's all in an evening's work. Before we go, I just want to ask you, what things are you looking forward to writing about in the near future? Do you have things that you're thinking about? Of course you do.
Yeah, I'm gonna write about the building of Brooklyn. It's gonna be called Working on a Building, using the old spiritual, but the actual building of the buildings and the people in them and who built them and who they held. And then the other thing I'm working on is a piece around water and our inability to take care of it. And what is that? What's wrong with us?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm thinking about names right now, like Lisa and Zachary, my son, and Tarek. And I begin there because I think about the works I want to create almost for them, for my family. This is my family. So by extension, I'm thinking about Haiti, and then by extension, of course, I'm thinking about Puerto Rico, and I'm thinking about water as life force, and as destruction, and our relationship to it, the sea, and I'm thinking about, you know, for me, it has to do something. I think about, I lost my father a few years ago, so he's two-dimensional in so many ways, pictures and videos. So I'm thinking about my mother right now, and I just think about not them literally, but our families, and you know, our relationship to our families. So so it's not, it is Puerto Rico, but like for me, my process would begin with, right now, what would I do if my family were in Puerto Rico or on the island of Haiti, and what would I want to explore and express, and what would that sound like, you know? And my partner she's a journalist. She goes to these places. She may very well be going to Puerto Rico, actually. She's been in some of the most dangerous places in the world, actually, and she reports. I see her not only as a journalist, but as a social worker in a way, because she makes contact with the people there, and maybe she doesn't realize this, but she gives them hope. So even watching both of you do your thing and the precision of it, you know, and the virtuosity of it, it makes me really think very consequentially about, right, when that next opportunity comes along, that next commission, and you have to make that choice, what am I going to talk about? So yeah, I'm definitely thinking about loss and how do we get things back, you know?
And Kamilah, what would you say for the institution? Like, what are the kinds of things and the kinds of works and projects you're looking forward to bringing to the Apollo?
Well, this season is a really incredible one, simply because obviously we have We Shall Not Be Moved, which opens our season, and Toshi Reagon and Parable of Sower will be sharing some of their work in October. But also, you know, we're exploring very politically relevant themes, simply because I think we have to, right? Because of the time. In February, we have a piece that explores protest music called Soundtrack 63, from 1963 on up to modern day. And then in the spring and April, we'll be exploring Ta-Nehisi Coates' book as a live staged presentation between the world and me. So that's really kind of what's up for the institution this season.
Thank you all again for being here this evening. I would like to say thank you to Jennifer Sendrow and the team here at the Green Space, as well as to Laura Greer and the Apollo Theater for making this evening happen. Thank you all so much for joining us.